Long shared this one, and it's funny coming off what we just did, but this is in relation to music reviews, I guess, quote unquote, the concept of music reviews, quote unquote, being dead at this point, or somewhat, I guess, rendered useless in 2024. And it's a blurb, I believe it was from, it says via article from Sun Raw. I think that's what it says for the Post. And I don't know how I feel about this because I enjoy doing these, and maybe it's because we're from a different era, but
let's read it and
let's read it and kind of discuss where this goes
so it
from.
says, at first glance, there's no good reason to review music in 2024. Before you close this tab and discuss, given that anyone reading this is one of the few remaining people who does care about music criticism, think about it. Why should you care enough to read a long-form tract about a singular album when you can go to your app of choice and make up your own mind about it? Hell, if you want a hot take, Twitter or your plant-based Twitter alternative of choice will provide a near unlimited buffet of snark about 𝐏𝐴𝐵𝐴.
Oh, Baby Rexha. Yeah.
Okay, JoJo Siwa and other pop stars whose names sound like Muppet Babies.
Wow.
I don't know any of these people for the record.
I know. The reason I know Baby Rexha is because it was a couple of Thanksgiving game. She performed at the Lions game, and I was like, "Who is this? Who is this nice?"
No relation to Baby Shark, though. Right?
No. I was like, "Who is this nice glass of milk right here?" I was like, "Okay, I need to follow her career."
Go ahead, Long.
So, if enthusiasm's more your speed, hop onto short form video app and be greeted by a barrage of teenagers reacting, quote unquote, and old guys, people.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, whatever the song of the minute happens to be. Hell, even the intellectually among us, weirdos and freaks who still like to read and write words, probably only read the few remaining music reviews published out of habit. When's the last time a write-up of a new album genuinely provoked thought or changed your mind about something?
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yes, there is.
Based off a couple paragraphs, 2 or 3 paragraphs there. Now, any validity to what he said?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. There's. I mean, it's 100%.
Let me tell you something.
Jump in,
go
my
ahead,
brother.
let's do it.
Help yourself.
Let's go, baby.
There's this thing called bringing down the band. We didn't do music reviews.
Okay.
Intentionally, for this exact reason, in 2010.
Talk to him.
We were like, people can make up their own mind about stuff. We're just going to share the stuff that we like.
We've already made up our minds.
Yeah. That's why we're sharing it to you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I 100% I don't know if this is, don't get me wrong. There are definitely people that like to dive deep into, listen to certain people's, like the needle drop, Anthony Fantano, stuff like that, like people that care about the music, like if you've got a voice like this, it seems like whoever's Sun Raw. There's still people out there that, do it well and everything like that. But the medium has changed as well. And I think a lot of those people, such as Fantano, we're not talking about him writing articles. We're talking about, we're listening to him talk words on YouTube and stuff like that. So I don't think it'll ever go away, but I will say at the same time, it is what Egon say in 1983 in Ghostbusters.
Print is dead.
Print is dead.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
I bet you like to read a lot, too.
Print is dead.
There we are.
Yeah,
The reviews
3 years ago.
The reviews that, to your point, I guess the ones that get my attention, or even there's some videos people will share with me that are on Instagram that will have an album breakdown, or they'll break down the lyrics and the AI flashes up on the screen as the person is talking, or breaking down samples and how this was used. Those types of things catch my attention. But as it relates to a, just like a print release or something, they're right. You guys were right. But yeah, I don't know if I might read it depending on if there's credibility to the person, with the person, or attached to the person that wrote it. Maybe
You're
they
gonna
might
listen to it regardless, though. At the end of the day,
right? But what I'm saying is the way I'm going to consume a review is different now. Print would be like 8th on the list.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I would only read something like that if there was another reason to like if it was like a real critical breakdown,
deep dive or something like that.
Super deep. And there was like, maybe also an interview with the artist or something,
That part.
But even still, like the medium of print is like, don't get me wrong, I think it's still important, but you can get so much more across and you can reach people so much faster in the world that we're in now with just video and the way data moves. It's like, why wouldn't you do that?
I agree. What you think, Terry?
I'm pretty much on the same line because honestly, the last print that I really cared about was the Source 5 mic situation.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And in a lot of cases, when the 5 mics, the rating system, I was more so tuned in to disagree with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because,
That's why I'd love to
Why
disagree.
would you only give that this many mics? So I would formulate my own review in my head, not that I wrote it down, but I don't agree with this review.
Right.
So 9 times out of 10, if I was reading a review, it was to pretty much, create a rebuttal about it.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as, it just doesn't, it's almost a waste of time to sit there and type up a whole bunch of words, either praising or discrediting an album when people are going to listen to it regardless. The way that he worded it, this,
Son-Law or whatever.
yeah, Son-Law, the way that he worded this thing, he made it sound like, you wanted to finish reading it.
Son Rocks.
But that's not a review though.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's going to keep you engaged in reading reviews. If it's is wordy to the point where it grabs your attention more so than this is my opinion of this record, and you either going to like it or you're not.
Look, man, part of it now is because critics almost felt like, and maybe this is, some critics did, they felt like, okay, we're writing these reviews because the consumer needs to know what it is that they're potentially spending their money on. Mm-hmm. Okay, now that everything is about subscriptions and memberships and everybody gets the same albums at the same time and it shows up in your phone at 12:01, you're not protecting the consumer anymore because the consumer has already made a choice to pay the $11.99 or whatever it is to a particular DSP, and they can listen to whatever they want, and it's not like you're helping them wade through all this content, physical content at the time, because like I said, there was a different commitment you had to have. Yeah, there's a different commitment you had to have, if you wanted to hear a certain album, and in fact, this is how much these reviews were weighted at a certain time. Like after the, Dr. Dre Presents the Aftermath album, the next release on Aftermath was supposed to be King T. And, advanced copies got out there. It was reviewed. It got maybe like a 3.5, the equivalent to 3.5 in certain publications. And that scared basically Aftermath and Dr. Dre from putting out. They wanted to put something out that was going to be fantastic and received in such a major way that, it was like, okay, this is Aftermath and this is what we're doing.
He didn't want to do the same thing Hoes with Attitudes did.
Yeah. Okay, you can say that. And so, like, I think maybe there's a way to hear it now, like, because, a lot of times albums have been out for so long. Like, we eventually got the Golden Child with Razzcast. I don't know. I think that King T album is available somewhere now, but like at the time, it was like, no, it's since it wasn't reviewed well, we're shelving it. Like King T was supposed to be the first artist out on Aftermath, but advanced reviews made it to a point where like a 3.5 or a 3 and a source might get your album shelved or pushed back or reworked. Now we're not in a place like that. We're like, okay, the people who are reviewing it, and sometimes they're not reviewing just the art, they're reviewing the artist as a person. And so you're going to talk about all the things that have happened with Young Miami or Carisha, or with there's a lot of that, especially with female artists, where they're not just reviewing the art, they're reviewing the artist.
Or they have a relationship with said artist. That's why, academics is always going to lean heavy to Drake, or he's even going to side with like what's Tekashi 6ix9ine, because he has relationships with these people. Mm-hmm. So the reviews aren't necessarily genuine, so to speak, because he has a relationship with him. But to your point, back then, that's what people pretty much heavily weighted on, is if these industry experts, because that's what they were considered back then. Unfortunately, now everybody considers themselves an expert when it comes to this music. So it's almost like listening to it with deaf ears, because I don't really need to listen to what you have to say, because I feel like I have a better opinion on it anyway. Like us, I like to say that we're part of those people that can sit down and review something fairly, so to speak, but in the same token, we can be considered the same type of individuals that we don't care what they have to say. I'm gonna listen to it regardless.
I mean, just
the people that used to do these articles, though, was, like, to your point, were special. You can even see it in like sports reporting now. The reporter is damn near obsolete now because all the players got podcasts. Mm-hmm. So the Rob Parkers and all these type of people, you hear them complaining about sports athletes having podcasts. they're not mad at the pot. They're not mad necessarily at the idea of the podcast. It's the fact that nobody's listening to them anymore.
Right.
Now the athletes have a voice. We have a voice. So they're not special. Like Jay-Z had an interview a while back on the Breakfast Club way back. He talked about how he used to send the album out. And somebody would listen to it 2 months before it came out, write the review up, people will read it, and then they could make their choice, like you all said, if they wanted to go cop or not. It doesn't matter anymore. Because everybody's pre-ordering no matter what Elliott Wilson says or what whoever these people are. All that's obsolete now. It doesn't matter because everybody's podding, everybody's got an opinion, and everybody has a way to put their idea out there. So nobody's special anymore.
In the same token, too, some of us can relate more to the things that we're talking about versus somebody that went to school for journalism and is just good at writing and not necessarily involved in the culture.
That's true.
Because a lot of the reporters, whether it had been MTV or a print magazine, whatever, weren't necessarily ground level involved in the culture. They were reporters. They were newscasters, so to speak.
Dr. Kurt Loder.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we were listening to them just because they were the professional at the position. But, I mean, that's not necessary anymore.
So I guess that would kind of, because I was going to bring up the next question is you guys think that music reviews moving forward, is there a place for them in that aspect? Because, I've thought about this. I thought about many different ways to attack content from somebody who literally has a YouTube channel and puts out the stuff, like what stuff people will actually be excited about, like consuming and taking in, and music reviewing is not one of those things that I really, like as far as like deep dive music reviews isn't something that I've really ever kind of thought about doing. And with all that being said, there is definitely a group of people that do get into music reactions, that do Tyson, but also like even the stuff that we do, the Doechii stuff, we've seen her fans come in and just react.
Multiple comments.
There's really no reason for them to come into our videos if they've already seen them. It's almost like they're trying to like defend it's like they're a part of the squad to make sure that nobody's talking bad. Like they don't really care about our review to that degree.
They just want to make sure that we are not.
To Terry's point about let me listen to it to see if I need to say anything else, right? So it's an interesting dynamic of just in general, like the content space of creating in general right now. I
think when we do the reviews that we do, I think there is a level of, I guess, respectability on how we comment about what we're watching, but it's not over the top. It's not too...
I don't think we do reviews.
Well, when I say, I don't know if people might look at it like we're reviewing it or more or less just watching it and reacting. Reacting versus reviewing is different, right?
It's completely different.
Yeah. It's a lot simpler now because literally the review is I like it or I don't like it. Like when something comes out,
it's vibes.
Yeah, it's
Here's that word.
Here's that word. It's the immediate action of whether I like it or you don't.
Yeah,
and whatever the general consensus says. And whoever is the first to acknowledge or say something about it is generally the one that is heard the most or loudest. Yeah. That's why everybody always wants to be first.
Yeah, it's the algorithm's fault realistically because the algorithm always pushes this whole thing of look, all content creators have to chase the algorithm now. Like there's no way around it. Everything we're forced to chase. Like if you're on TikTok or if you're on YouTube or anything else, you have to chase the algorithm, and it's making just the economy of everything horrible because like we can sit here and have an amazing show, a great talk, and our 12 people that are in our live will be like, wow, that was cool. I really like that. But we put that video out with maybe a great thumbnail and maybe a great title, but maybe that description in the title isn't great for SEO or what matches up with what's popular right now on YouTube. So for the 100,000 people that we put the video out for, 96 people watch it. You know what I mean? And there's so much more to it. It's just so bad, man. It's so bad. And I think
you almost have to just follow a trend in order to be seen.
You kind of have to, and or get people over to your thing, which is what we're trying to do with Patreon. So you see it on the screen. So follow that. But
that part.
But it's like I know this is about music reviews, but I think all this is kind of loosely tied together.
No, it definitely is. Just because what music reviews were tied to and what they were supposed to drive is completely gone now.
True.
Okay. The difference between we review or not review. Once again, we react to the things. We're like, hey, that looks cool. Let's go ahead. Or have you heard of this? Hey, let's give it a shot. If it was something about really trying to just look at the algorithm, we'd have definitely reviewed Eminem. We'd definitely reviewed
Sexy Red's
and Megan Thee Stallion.
Sexy Red's lip gloss line.
Yeah,
definitely would have been an algorithm.
I don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about that.
I don't.
No, not at all.
So I mean, like that's the kind of the game you play where is the attention worth talking about something that I'm not genuinely interested in?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that can go to what it is to review something. Like a Rolling Stone review used to mean so much. The source review, if you got 4 mics, it was like you were on your way.
True.
And like if like I said, you're sending out these albums 2 months in advance. If you got 2.5, 3 mics, like you might have to shelve that album.
Yeah.
And rework it and call it something else. I mean, I've seen 2.5 mic albums do well. I think like Salt and Pepper's like with What a Man and Shoot, they got like 2.5 mics. This is when the source was vicious on albums. But I mean, that album went on to sell like 5 million copies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you see exactly what the impact is. Like, especially when Vibe got involved, like you didn't want 3 or 4. If there was only 3 or 4 hip hop based or R&B based magazines, and all 3 of them gave you a bad review, you had to get back to the lab, But at the same time, sometimes we talk about personal feelings. Like I feel like the most hating ass review I've ever read in my entire life is when the source gave Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style 4 mics. It was almost like, oh, it's just more of what we got on the Chronic and this, that. Is like, is that bad? This is an incredible album.
Incredible.
But, and so they had to find a way to justify giving this masterpiece the day it came out, Doggy Style, 4 microphones. So I don't know. There's a lot.
It was still biased.
Yeah, it was still biased. You're like, I know the West Coast is kicking y'all ass right now, but damn, 4 mics, not fair. I mean, the same thing like,
Outkast.
There's like, we can't give it 5.
Yeah.
We can't give Playlistic 5. So I don't know. There's always that bias. Like I said, because sometimes you're talking from not only your perspective and your bias, but it gets to a point where like, look, I don't like this person, so I'm not really going to review their album, and I don't like something that they did. Like I don't think if I was actually writing reviews and say 𝐀𝐁𝐎 6ix9ine put out something, am I going to really write a glowing review even if I think it's okay? I can't even wrap my mind around his music being good enough for me to give a good review to. And so like I think that happens not just with him, but with a lot of other people. There's a lot of people that just don't like Jay-Z, just don't like Nas, just don't like Eminem. And so I'm talking. So these are the big dogs.
Let me ask you this real quick, and we can. I don't know if there's much more to say, but
keep going, brother. Keep going.
When was the last time that anybody here has read a review of music?
Oh man, like I said, last time I probably actually paid attention to reviews was during the source times.
I think the last time I read a review,
like,
it probably was, and it was because it's something that you alluded to earlier. There was an interview attached, so it was. What's the project that Black Thought dropped that had it was just what, 2 years, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago?
The one where he dropped like 2 out projects together?
Yeah, and it had dope artwork. There's one with Salam Remy, but there's another one. It's got the dope artwork. I cannot remember who produced that joint.
There's the Danger Mouse one he did.
But there was a review of that with an interview from him. So the part where I saw the part where he was actually getting asked questions and how this happened and how this happened, I actually read that. But had it been just a review for the project, I probably would have skipped over it.
The only reviews I read now are Amazon reviews. Products. Like, I want to know that I'm getting a good product because that's tangible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Are Amazon reviews cap?
No,
because I write Amazon reviews because I was trying.
You're a good person, buddy.
I was trying to
stay on topipic here.
I'm sorry, I just didn't know.
No, I was trying to.
I think they cap sometimes. Sorry,
I was trying to.
I ain't gonna veer off. You're right. I ain't gonna veer off.
And like, I bought like 2 tablets from the same company, and they both broke within 2 weeks. And I wrote about that.
Cool. That's cool. That's cool.
I've never been misled by an Amazon review.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just have to gauge all of them.
Yeah.
Now some of them are just funny and mean, but like other than that, like you gotta, you could tell some people just like to get on there and hate.
For sure. But to answer your question, yeah, that was the last. Yeah, probably last time I actually locked in and read something.
Sometimes something in Rolling Stone, and like I said, I don't know when the last time I even picked up a Rolling Stone.
Like a Pitchfork. Like I don't think I've ever read a Pitchfork review.
I've never. I for real can't remember reading music reviews unless it had something to do with the source.
Yeah,
honestly.
I'd read them in Vibe, but sometimes like Vibe was very biased.
Yeah.
You know, there's people they just didn't like.
I mean, I feel like if it's attached to something to where like you can, like it's discovery to some point, but you can just do a discovery piece.
More so my music reviews and suggestions come from my peers.
Mm-hmm.
So like if somebody has already listened to something, like, hey, you should probably check this out. Or even it might be the disclaimer, hey, I ain't really rock with it, but you can check it out, see what you think. That's more so where my music reviews come from nowadays.
And you know what's crazy? To Terry's point, that has more value to me than trying to go find a review. If Terry says, man, I think you should run that XYZ, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go take a look at it. And then what I always tell you, I get back with you.
Mm-hmm.
That right there is better than me having, someone tell me that they've reviewed it and I should check it out. It's not going to hit the same. If y'all say it, I'm probably going to get to it faster. I'm just being honest.
Is there anything that you can think of that you would tune into or that you do tune into that you deem as that would be nice for music discovery in that aspect?
Oh, the needle drop.
The needle drop type stuff.
I do enjoy, and I don't find him like there's a little bias in what he does, but hey.
I mean, he doesn't like Kanye.
Yeah, and I understand that,
which is perfectly fine.
But by and large, when like he says like when he does like best singles of the week or this, that, and the third, like some of that stuff I wind up checking out.
Yeah.
Because it's just not like because he goes over all sorts of music.
Yeah, that piece. Yeah.
I think that's part of it. And when he reviews hip as somebody, I'm not going to say he's outside the culture, but he's someone who could say that. I think he's very fair.
Yeah, and he's, even though you could say he's outside, he's still very much tapped in.
Yeah, so I mean, like I don't, because when he doesn't just make these wild comments about things, he's the things, his criticisms are things that are tangible and based in actual, something, whether it be music theory or just like, oh, that lyric was terrible, and he's not being mean about it. Like he's criticizing people's lyrics who are actually terrible.
Yeah,
I can respect that.
Critic,
yeah, I can respect that.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Hey, I guess this guy was on to something, and Lone and Terry were already onto it.
There might even be more.
And at a certain point,
that was just a blip from the.
I'm sure he could. I'm sure he could have went. I'm sure there was some more after that. But
and at a certain point, them 5 mics didn't mean nothing anymore either. Anyway,
I was like,
Benzino got 5, didn't he?
By that time,
Benzino got 5, didn't he?
By that time, Source had lost their credibility.
Yeah. Remember what was it?
I remember when Lil' Kim got 5.
I was like, nah,
I don't know about that. And she was like, "Who writing my lyrics?" Because that's when Biggie had passed. "Who writing my lyrics now?" I'm like, fam.
I mean,
they just gave you 5 mics, so you from New York. At the end of the day,
I mean, they gave one of Bun B's 5.
I know his little brother.
That was in the
2000s,
though.
True.
Yeah.
True.
They gave Bun B 5.
Shout out to LB, man. They got 4, and
they gave him 4.5.
Which should have been 5.